Welcome, everyone. It is the Our Turf Football Podcast. I am Dana O'Gorman. That is Kate Arhar, and we want to welcome you to our show. Chaos was the word that I used to describe this whole entire season of football so far. It just seems so strange and yet so much fun this season. It's so unpredictable. I'm having such a good time with it. We aren't getting the automatic wins, and we're getting some great back and forth games. It's just been a blast. I really, really liked this week. We're going to talk about that here in just a minute. Kate is here with me through the whole show. Sonia's going to pop in here in just a few minutes. She's going to be just a little bit behind. But before we get started, like we always do, we want to thank our sponsor. Donkey's Cheesesteaks has been our sponsor for 2 years in a row, and we appreciate them for letting us have this podcast and do this for you guys every single week. They are a cheesesteak restaurant in New Jersey, 3 locations: Camden, Mount Holly, and Medford. So if you guys get there, tell them we sent you, tell them hello. And yes, we keep tweeting those pictures because those cheesesteaks look amazing. So make sure you check them out. Kate, this weekend, you, by the way, were a super trooper covering Twitter for us all day on Sunday, so I could be in New Orleans and going to the Seahawks game in New Orleans. So you watched all these games. This weekend was so fun. It was so fun.
You know, it really was. There were low-scoring games that I thought would have been higher. There were blowouts that I thought would have been more competitive. I think aside from the fact that I can't decide what my favorite team's going to do from one quarter to the next, let alone 1 week to the next, I like the unpredictability. I did not think the Raiders-Chiefs game last night was going to be, 29-30?
Yeah.
I mean, to be, that close, there were a lot of games that came down to either missed or made field goals as time went out. And a lot of the teams that you think, we all play the schedule game, right? We're like, oh, this is a win, this is a loss. We go through and we mark all those things on. And a lot of those are not panning out. So it makes it a lot more fun to watch. It makes it a lot more interesting. And I think Sunday's games in particular were fabulous, especially after Thursday night's field goal snooze fest. We needed something a little more exciting on Sunday.
It was
Sunday brought
so bad. Oh my God, Thursday was so bad. It was so bad. Look who has joined us. Sonia has joined us up there. Sonia Greenfield is, we are glad that you are here with us. Sonia, we were just talking about how I used the word chaos to start the show, how crazy this season. It's completely unpredictable at this point. Are you enjoying that, or do you prefer where you kind of know what's going to happen?
With a lot of things, I'm predictable. I like predictability, but with football, no, let the madness begin.
Right. I will tell you,
I like
there were a couple.
that.
Yeah, there were a couple games that really stuck out to me. I gave the Giants no chance of beating Green Bay in London. No chance. And that wasn't a dig on the Giants. I just figured Aaron Rodgers is going to go out there and be like, see, you've been waiting for me for a million years to come to Europe, and now I'm going to give you a show. And the Giants said, no, thank you, sir. No, thank you, sir, at all. I thought that was a lot of fun. And I'm not trying to be rude to Green Bay fans, although, guys all know Aaron Rodgers isn't my favorite person. But I really thought that was a fun game to watch. Another game, and we're going to talk about this Seahawks Saints game, that back and forth, even though both teams, it was crazy fun to be there. I'm going to stop it right now. If you get a chance to go to an away game in New Orleans, do it. The fans are fantastic. They do not care who you cheer for, as long as there's a cocktail in your hand and a dance in your heart, because that's all they want. I posted a video on Instagram of the entire stadium just dancing around to the music. Everyone was moving. It was so much fun. And they love away fans. So if you want an easy, fun place to go to an away game, New Orleans is it. I love going there. But that game
I would say go to New Orleans for a game, even if your team's not playing.
Oh, for sure.
Like if you can schedule a trip, try to do it on a weekend when the Saints are home and just go to whoever they're playing.
It's so much fun. They're so fantastic. And I cannot say that enough. That game was really fun. The Chiefs game, Raiders game last night. I mean, hello, Raiders. They came out the gate. And yeah, Super Trooper Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce came out and saved the day. And we're going to talk about that game. I know that in a minute here with Sonia's topic. But that game was fun. I mean, if you can remove yourself and because you're not a fan of one of those teams, that was a fun game to watch. And so, yeah, I just loved this. I loved The Lions didn't score a damn point. After scoring a zillion points in Seattle, they didn't score a damn point. I was just like, I know. I'm sorry, Sonia. I'm sorry.
I know.
But-
And what the Cowboys defense did to the Rams. Where's Michelle? Take a little credit, Michelle. Defense wins championships. I'm still not sold on Cooper Rush, but he can keep playing the way he's playing if that defense is going to step it up every week the way they've been doing.
Yeah, it's crazy. I loved it. But let's go ahead and get started with our topics. We have 3 really good topics for you tonight. I just realized I don't have the hat. I'll have to go grab the hat here in just a minute. But I've got it. It's in the
closet. The hat. No, not that.
I know. But we have 3 great topics for you tonight. We want to go through. But first, we got to start with kind of the elephant in the room. And I called this show the Week of Surprises because we're going to talk about Geno Smith and how fantastically surprising he has been. And we are going to talk about it was surprising to me, the firing of Matt Rhule so quickly into the season. The fans don't seem to be all that upset about it though. And then, but first we're going to talk about the surprising, possibly questionable calls that happened this weekend, Sonia. It was a little crazy.
It was a little crazy. And, you know, it was bad. And, you know, I'm no stranger to bad calls. As a Lions fan, you all know this. And so it's just like, yeah, of course we're going to talk about officiating. And, you know, I went back and I looked at the plays to make sure, because, you know, the first time you're in the heat of the moment, you're like, wait a second, let me just make sure. So I went back and I looked at them and I'm like, this literally is not roughing the passer at all. And I think the first one, the Bucks and the Falcons, I think that one just got so much hype because obviously it's Tom Brady. And, you know, everybody's like, if you breathe on Tom wrong, then yes, you're getting a flag. But, you know, and I looked at a couple stats too, and they were saying that while it seems that way, Mr. Brady hadn't had as many roughing the passers as we'd like to think he has. So there's that. But still, it was a bad call.
It was a bad call. It was I'm gonna get some hate about this, but here we go. So I will tell you that call against Tom Brady was the worst. It was so obviously just a tackle. He was already in a rolling motion when he got on to Tom Brady. He did not slam him down. I don't even think Brady's head hit the ground. And then Brady tried to kick him as he got up over. I mean, it was so obvious because Brady's pissy this year, people. We all know that, right? That was egregious to me. And I don't know if that came from the Dolphins situation with Tua and then Teddy Bridgewater, who got pulled from the game in the first quarter, or what it was, if they're being overcautious with that, if it was a Brady call, because we do know that those happen. I will tell you this, though. There are a lot of other missed calls that didn't involve quarterbacks, and we could go through all of them, but it would take us the whole 35 minutes, 40 minutes that we're on here. But the other call, the Chiefs fans are going to eat me alive for this. That call last night in the Chiefs-Raiders game, Chris Jones landed his full body on top of Derek Carr. They are going to call that 9 times out of 10. They've been calling that really consistently. Do I think it's a good rule? No. I don't think it's a good rule. I know that they have no control over how their body is falling. Okay. We get that. We know that the quarterbacks can move underneath of them and end up underneath of them, you know, not purposely, but they're going to call that. And they've been calling it consistently. So the Chiefs fans who lost their ever-loving mind, and those Chiefs fans, I'm telling you, I don't agree. I understand why it was called. I don't agree with the rule, but I understand why it was called. I think there were much worse calls throughout the entire weekend against a million other teams than necessarily that one. I don't know. Kate, what do you think?
I completely agree with you. And it's the consistency factor that does it for me, is because I'm with you. I don't like the rule, but they've been calling it consistently. And that, to me, is the job. Maybe someone on the coaching staff, you need to watch film. You need to look at what they're calling. You need to make a point of telling your players, listen, in this situation, I'm not telling you to play different. Play the way you play. But understand, if this gets called, it is what it is. Don't scream and yell and fuss about it, because you know they're going to call it. It's the things they call when you're like, there's some of the incidental contact within 5 yards, 5 yards. It'll be fine first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. All of a sudden in the fourth quarter, they start calling it. And I'm like, wait, you've been letting them get a little touchy-feely all game, and now all of a sudden you're going to call it? Those are the ones that bother me more, because in a way it's almost like a strike zone in baseball. The batters get used to where the ump is going to call it at, and so they behave accordingly, and then he changes the rules. So those are the ones that frustrate me more, especially when they're not anywhere near a play, and it can change. Like that Brady call changed the entire momentum of what was going on in that drive. And those are things that referees have to understand, that is you're having an effect on the game, an effect that isn't necessarily what the effect you want it to be on. And I will say I understand the grief everyone gives Brady about the calls, and he doesn't get, I think he's in the bottom 3%, 30% bottom third of quarterbacks in the NFL as far as how many roughing the quarterback calls he gets. He gets, a low number of them, but the ones he gets, people are always like, really? Was that really roughing the passer? And they're like not the clear, the one on Tua, it was clear. Dude hit him after he got rid of the ball. Like, yeah. Nobody was arguing that. Brady doesn't get that many calls, but they're all suspect. Or else we're just cynical as fans, and we're just like, oh, that wasn't really one, but they're giving him, you know what I mean? The quality of the calls is a little sketchy.
Well, and the thing with Brady is that he gets rid of the ball quickly, and so they don't often have time to touch him. But when they do, he whines. We all know he whines, right? It's so annoying.
Yeah, and the Academy Award goes to.
Oh my God, don't even. Right, I totally agree. I think there were other calls. I know that personally in that Seattle game, there were 2 or 3 calls. I think they added up. It could have been like, I think it was 14-point swing that could have, one was valid. The cross holding, yeah, they're going to call it. It was a little ticky, but they could have. It was the DK Metcalf fumble that got most of the ire. And that was, a third down converting into a first. So, I mean, there was a lot there. I know that in, I think it was the Minnesota game. I almost wish John was here with us, because I think it was in the Minnesota game. There were a couple of just brazenly bad calls too. So it happens. And we have to remember it's the beginning of the season for these refs too. That doesn't change the fact. I think that the Brady one was the most egregious, because that did remove the chance of Atlanta getting that ball back. And they had come back, and they were playing the Bucs very well at that point. So that was pretty bad, but welcome to football, ladies and gentlemen. I did see this though today. They talked about how they wanted roughing the passers or personal fouls reviewable. Horrible idea. We'd be here all damn day. Like, you think football's long now? Oh, good Lord. It would take forever to get through a football game. They really, what I read on Twitter, they don't expect them to take that up. But then I heard some other was like, oh yeah, the NFL will act on it quickly. They won't let this continue to ruin the game. Their quarterbacks are their money. They're going to be very careful with them. We just might as well accept that. So
I'd almost like to see it the way they have with the kickers. You can have the 5 yard or the 15. There's like the incidental contact. You were already in the motion of tackling the quarterback. That's a 5 yard, as opposed to the ones that we've seen where he could have stopped. He could have not slammed him to the ground. Like a 5 versus 15, I would be more comfortable with, as opposed to a review. And we got to stop what we're doing and sit back and wait while the quarterbacks get special attention. I'd rather do something like that.
That's actually a really good idea. I would totally be for that. That's interesting. We should put that out as a poll, see what people would think about that. That's a good idea. All right, you guys. So we've done our duty. We bitched about the refs, right? Like we've done what we're supposed to. I brought up to the gang this week that I really wanted to talk about Geno Smith a little bit. And that is not just because I am a Seattle Seahawks fan. It is because it is pretty fascinating what Geno Smith is doing this season. Geno Smith, as many people know, was I think he played for the Jets here. I have it just right here. He played for the Jets for, let's see, what was that? 4 seasons, only 3 full
He was
ones.
drafted in 2013. I had to go look it up. I didn't realize. Does that mean this is his 10th, 9th season in the league? I'm like, was it that long ago?
I know. Really, it doesn't feel like it, right? He's 32 years old. He's actually 2 years younger than Russell Wilson. How weird is that? But so he played for the Jets 13 through 16, then 1 year with the Giants, 1 year with the Chargers, and then has been on the Seahawks roster for 3 years. He played backup to Russell Wilson. Didn't have to start much, as we know Russell Wilson's very sturdy and can he didn't miss games until last season when Geno came out, had to play the 3 games that Russell was out with his broken finger and played pretty well. Now, he got a lot of grief. He only won 1 of the 3 games, but we started to see that he, had some potential there. Then came along this offseason, the Seahawks trade Russell Wilson. And then they have a quarterback competition. And I put that in quotes because I think a lot of us called that this was Geno's job to lose, even though they brought in Drew Luck and they said they were giving him a chance. And I think they did. Sadly, he got COVID. I think during the preseason, I think that was a huge hindrance to the kid. But I think Pete saw something in Geno Smith that he probably knew was there all along, that the rest of us did not. Let's be honest. We all kind of like, are you kidding me? Geno Smith is going to be our starting quarterback. Okay. So then I will tell you the minds of most Seahawks fans. It was like, okay, well, our defense is going to be really good. That didn't work out so good. And we'll just have an okay offense. And the complete opposite has been true. Let me read this. If I would have told you in week 1 that Geno Smith would be the number 1 quarterback in football on week 5, there's not a soul. I would have been laughed at, right? I interviewed Emory Hunt last week for another podcast, and he's like, no, Dana, you remember I said, do not count Geno out. And he did. So I'm going to give him credit for that because no one else bought it. Nobody, Emory, else bought it. So let me read you some of these stats that he has. So currently right now, he's among the leaders in 10 categories. He's number 1 in Pro Football Focus grade, which is 90.2. He is number 2 in passing DVOA. Now listen, the stats nerds are going to love all of this. A lot of people won't know what they are, like me. I don't know what half of these mean. I'm not going to lie. Number 1 in big time throw rate at 6.4%. Number 3 in EPA, which is 33.6. Number 1 in completion percentage, 75.2. He's number 4 in QBR at 74.8. He is number 1 in adjusted completion rate at 80.7. 80.7 completion. That's insane. Number 6 in passing touchdown percentage, which is 5.7. Number 3 in yards per pass attempt at 8.3. And number 1 in passer rating at 113.2. Now, what is fascinating to me is this is a guy who everyone had written off, that not a soul thought would do anything. He was on a horrible Jets team for a long, long time and then was backup to the backup. And from what Emory told me is that the Giants really thought that he would be the heir apparent after Eli Manning. And then a couple of things happened that didn't work out, or they decided to go a different direction. And I believe they got a new coach. But, and so he missed out his opportunity there. Then he just kind of sat. And then he came to Seattle where, he's not going to beat out Russell Wilson for the job at the time. Makes me wonder now, though. How shocked are you guys at what what Geno is doing? Well, we're all shocked at what Russell's doing. Let's not forget that. But we're shocked at what Geno is doing. And at any point in your career, in his career, did you guys think that this was who Geno Smith could be? Sonia, I'm going to start with you because this is crazy to me.
I think she's having technical issues.
Are we? Okay. Are you having technical
there
issues?
There we go. I'm there. Okay. A little slow internet today. Not sure why, but oh well.
That's okay.
Anyways, so Geno, I have been pleasantly surprised by him. I think, this is what they wanted, obviously, from the Jets, but I don't know, whatever happened there. But obviously, he needed just different coaching. And Carroll has been the one, I think, bring it out of him, obviously. And I've been pleasantly surprised, doing well. I just wish he could have had success earlier, but hey, it's never too late. Don't write back, Geno. Don't write back.
It's so true. I know. I think with New York, he had very little talent around him. They would have 1 or 2 talented players, but that team just kind of fell apart around him. He didn't have the opportunities and coaching probably to a certain extent. Kate, when it comes, and I'm sad that Lisa's missing this conversation because she would love the quarterback conversation, because I think she actually would be very surprised about all of this. But the thing with Geno is that at 32 years old, he seems to be completely revived in the fact that he has a team that is his. He has fantastic weapons. Let's not forget, right? He's got DK Metcalf. He's got Tyler Lockett. Around him, he had a good run team. Poor Rashad Penny. Oh my God, my heart breaks for Rashad Penny. And so I think that he has really kind of taken that mantle and run with it. And I'm not going to lie, I didn't think he had it in him.
Well, I think for me, what's so surprising is the number of games he's played in the last 5 or 6 years.
Right.
He's played in 5 games this year, which is the most games he's played in a season in the last 4 seasons. Right. He played in 4 last year, 2. Like you would think there'd be a certain amount of rust when you're the backup to the backup. You're not getting reps with the ones. You're not getting all of those things that we believe a quarterback needs to be as good as he has been. And maybe all that rest has been good for his body. Maybe all of that watching has been good for his brain. He's making very good decisions. He's got 9 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, which is better. The ratio of that is better than he had the first 2 years that he played in every game for the Jets, and better than the last few years where he's had, he had 5 last year, the whole year. He only played in 4 games. But I mean, that's exciting right there. So I think he is someone who has made very good use of his off time these last few years. And to your point, Dana, he has finally gotten into a situation that clicks for him. He's got talent around him, and he's got coaches that are playing to his strengths. And maybe this will be a lesson for coaches to take another look at guys like Josh Rosen and Sam Darnold and say, you know what? Maybe they're not washed up after 3 years. Maybe if we keep them around and keep them around the game and get them to the right place, they can do this. I think if he continues this, I mean, aside from the fact that Dana was smart enough to pick him up in fantasy football and he will probably get her to a championship, does he qualify as comeback player of the year? I mean, people had his career dead and buried up until now. I couldn't believe he was still in the league when I heard he was starting, when Drew Lock went down. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Geno. I laughed. I'm sorry.
Yeah. There was a conversation today. It was on one of the sports shows about him being comeback player of the year, just because it is the biggest comeback, right? And we know it's week 5. And I will tell you that after I saw how well he played in the first 2 or 3 weeks, and granted, that was included in the crappy San Francisco game, he still was playing so well. I'm like, we'll see if he can continue it. And then next week he did. And then again this week against a very good Saints defense. That defense is ranked, I think it's in the top 10 or very close. It's a very good defense. And he just went right through them, right? It was so fun to watch. I think it'll be interesting to see what he will continue to do, especially now that with Pentagon, we'll have to see. But yeah, Camden wrote in here, she's like, Geno is thriving in a great culture. And you can tell by Camden's avatar that they're a Seahawks fan. But it is true. And it's interesting. I wonder how much Pete Carroll has to do with this, right? And I say that for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think that he has always believed Geno had this in him. But he had Russell Wilson. And so he's like, Geno, no, we need you. We need you. We need you. And then how much this offense is more suited to Geno's strengths than it is Russell Wilson's strengths, because this is the same offensive coordinator. And we're seeing different plays. We're seeing different things happen that play to Geno's strengths. And he does have these great strengths. He doesn't have the pretty moon ball that Russell Wilson has. But he's still getting the ball down the field. He's just a different football player, and it's been really fun to watch. But I will say this. I still every week am waiting for that drop off, and I don't know that I should. I think that he might be just fine. So we'll see. Maybe Pete Carroll, I saw this today, it cracked me up, I'm not going to lie. It said maybe Pete Carroll has been the quarterback whisperer the whole time. We always thought he was a defensive coach because of the Legion of Boom, but maybe he's been a quarterback whisperer the whole time. That would crack me up. I'm not going to lie. That would be very, very funny. But you never know. We'll see. So kudos to you, Geno. We're very, very excited for you. And I hope it continues. And if it does, maybe Seattle doesn't need to get a quarterback in the first round. We'll see what happens. But all right. So let's pop in here with a question.
He could be a quarterback whisperer.
Well, I think he did it at USC, right? He was a quarterback whisperer at USC.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, he did at USC. So yeah.
It would be really interesting. I'm going to pop in this.
Talk about his career at USC.
No, but I'm just saying as quarterbacks. All right, let's see this. Big Red asked us a question, so I'm going to throw this here in the middle before we move on to Matt Rhule. Says, will Tua be the same guy he was prior after those huge hits so close together? Sonia, you're the medical gal. What do you think? Did she freeze again? There she is. Are you there? Okay.
I'm muted. Okay, there we go. It was not. Yes, it was not unmute. Anyways, no, I don't think he'll be the same. It's going to take him a while to even rehab from the concussion. And I know it sounds a little weird, but it's true. I mean, even I work with kids, so that's kind of my focus, but still, like, the kids have to be able to walk a long way and run a long way without having any signs or symptoms of a concussion. And that takes weeks. And sometimes they have to start off slow, and he's probably not going to be the same. He had his hip injury. He came back after that. Now he's gotten these 2 concussions essentially back to back. He's not going to be the same. I think that he'll probably be a little bit more cagey, honestly. And maybe he's really going to have to think, is it worth it? You know? Right. And I hate the fact that he'd have to do it.
Yeah, me too.
He's also going to have to learn to trust his offensive line. You know, Teddy Bridgewater got sacked on his very first play of the game, and Skylar Thompson had to come in, and I fielded a whole lot of who the heck is Skylar Thompson questions on Sunday. Right. Teddy, there are issues with that offensive line. For him to get hit the way he was getting hit, clear, free, you know, he's going to have to feel medically like he's ready to come back. And then are we going to see him being skittish? Is he going to be afraid of getting hit again? Is he going to not want to stay in the pocket because he doesn't trust the pocket to protect him? There's that psychological edge to it, even once he's physically healthy.
That's true. I agree completely. Thanks for the question, Big Red. I love it. All right. So our last little segment before we do the hat, which I still have to go grab, but we're going to talk a little bit about the firing of Matt Rhule. So the Carolina Panthers fired their head coach yesterday after another loss, and it was a little bit of an embarrassing loss this weekend. I think that it surprised me. Maybe it wasn't surprising. I don't follow the Panthers super, super closely, but I know that he has not had success there. I think that a long time it was blamed on the quarterback situation and Christian McCaffrey always being hurt. And then, but yesterday they came down with the axe with Matt Rhule. Kate, I know you looked into this just a little bit. Did anyone else see this coming? It just surprised me.
It surprised a lot of people. Fans have been unhappy this season, but it's been more focused around the quarterback and the quarterback controversy. And, you know, Sam Darnold not being 100% and losing the starting job to Baker Mayfield and all the drama in the offseason of having the, you know, they went 1-2 in the draft and now they're on the same team. But, you know, Matt Rhule went 5-11 in his first season with Carolina, 5-12 his second season. You know, he started this year 1-4. What I find interesting is he isn't the only one who got fired. Phil Snow, who's their defensive coordinator, also got fired yesterday. Ben McAdoo, the offensive coordinator, is still there, which is, again, to me, weird. If all the fans are screaming about the quarterback play and we're not scoring enough points and this, that, and the other, apparently the owner's just fine with the offense and the offensive coordinator. It was the defense in that he let go. So I almost feel like I don't understand it. It's not like anyone thought the Panthers were going to win their division. It's not like they have enough talent to do that. Even with a healthy Christian McCaffrey, you need more than you were going to get this year from Baker Mayfield coming off an injury and learning a new system and stuff. So it's not like they had Super Bowl contending playoff hopes and he thought, I need to get rid of this coach and bring someone new in and right this ship. So I don't understand it. Like I said, the fans that were screaming more about their unhappiness at the quarterback situation than they were about Rhule's coaching. He's only been there 2 years and 5 games. I mean, the same thing could be said looking at the Browns. At Kevin Stefanski is in his 3rd year. There are a number of teams with coaches in years 2 and 3, and people are like, are we giving them the whole season? How long is the leash? We've already started those conversations. But even looking at some of the national media guys, nobody saw a firing of any coach coming this soon in the season.
I'm looking at their schedule, their record this year. So they played the Browns. They lost 26-24, close game, right? And then they played the Giants, 16-19. They lost, close game. And then the Saints, they beat the Saints, which is a good team, 22-14. And then they 26-16, they lost to the Cardinals. And then the beating they got this week, 37-15. So it's not even like they were getting blown out every single game, right?
Right. And so you can understand the defensive coordinator being let go. You look at those 3-point games and you're like, you know what? Your defense should have been doing better. He's been there longer. They should be able to do something with that. It doesn't make sense.
Sonia, do you think that they just did this to do something? Anything?
I think so. I think that, I don't know, perhaps they thought or think that he's in over his head and probably much more suited for college again. I don't, but maybe they just felt that they had to do something. Apparently there were a bunch of San Francisco fans there on Sunday, and you can't really, if you're not selling out, there's the business aspect of it too. So
True.
who's got to go? The head coach, unfortunately, is. I mean, and that's probably going to make the biggest change right now. A coordinator, obviously not as big of a bang, I think, as the head coach.
Right. So,
and their interim head coach that they announced is Steve Wilkes, who had been at he'd been a head coach in college at some HBCU schools and that kind of thing. So it's an interesting choice. And it makes me wonder if the owner had an eye on him and maybe had some conversations with him and maybe felt like if he didn't, usually you see that later in the season. You know what? I need, like week 10, I need to fire my guy and get my other guy that I want now before all the teams are looking for coaches. Wilkes is, I like him. I like his style. I'm very interested to see what he does with this team. So we'll see how that goes. But I wonder if that factored into any of this. I was going to look and see who they played this week.
It's interesting. He's played. Rivera. When Ron Rivera had hired him, and then he went to the head coach of the Cardinals, and he only lasted 1 year, which we all were pissed when he got fired. I remember when that happened. Then he went to the Browns as their defensive coordinator, and then to the University of Missouri. So he's kind of popped around all over. And then again this year, he was the defensive pass game coordinator and a secondary coach. But so that makes you wonder because it wasn't a high profile hiring. So it makes you wonder if they wanted to bring him in for that.
Yeah. Well, for his first game, he gets to travel to LA and take on the Rams after the beating they got from the Cowboys this week. So that'll be a fun.
But is that so scary anymore? I don't know.
Welcome to this team.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. The Rams, this one is, I don't know.
I don't know.
So interesting. Graham did post, he said, I saw rumors of Christian McCaffrey possibly going to Buffalo. I did too. I read a bunch of stuff that they were going to start gutting this team for draft picks, that's what they want. They want draft picks so they can rebuild it from the bottom up. So that'll be interesting to see how much of that team gets kind of spread around. I don't know if they can get rid of Christian McCaffrey. That I think the fan base would lose their ever loving mind if they did that. But some of those other players, you never know what will happen.
Nobody will accuse him of trying to lose games on purpose to get the number 1 pick in the draft, or he'd have just stayed with Rhule.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
They're trying to do something.
He's trying to do something. So
absolutely. So yeah, it's really interesting to me. All right, hold on. I gotta go get the hat. Hold on.
Get the hat.
Oh, Lord, Sonia, why did we let her start this hat thing?
I don't know. Why didn't
encouraged
she
her.
remember it?
we encouraged her to do this, and now the hat's back. Although
The hat's
Sonia always
back.
gets easy teams. We'll see if she gets easy
I
teams
know.
this week.
Let's see if I
We
can
had to do the
get an
Jets
easy
last
team
week.
today.
That sucked. Oh my God.
Who'd
So
Michelle get? My Browns, so that I didn't have to
she
do
got,
them.
yeah. Hey, I want to address this. So Camden put on here a 7th for Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey, even with his history, would get more than a 7th. Yeah, even with his injury history. All right, we're going to do it from the hat. If you guys don't know what this is our little special game we like to play this season. I put the name of every single NFL team into this cap. It says she knows routes. Thank you very much, Mr. Cam Newton. And we pulled them out, and we are going to tell you why this team is going to win the Super Bowl or go to the Super Bowl. They don't have to win it. They're going to go to the Super Bowl.
They just have to go.
We have gone through a ton of these teams already, but I will tell you, I think we've gone through a lot of the good teams already. Like we went through them, all over the place. Oh, Camden just said, Dana, I'm trolling. Okay, thanks, Camden. All right, so here we go. Grab it out the hat. And this is going to go to Kate. Oh, son of a... The Pats, the Patriots. Good luck with that one, sister. Why are they going to the Super Bowl?
Because little Bailey Zappi's got something to prove. He got big shoes to fill. He's got Ty Montgomery to throw the ball to. He's got Trent Brown on his offensive line at 6'8", 370 to protect him. Mac Jones will be back, but Bailey Zappi, I believe, can keep that ship right till Mac Jones is back. And at the end of the year, they're going to sneak. The Bills are going to fall off. The Jets are going to fall off. Miami's already fallen off. They're going to win the division. Okay, they're not going to win the division, but they are going to get a wild card spot, sneak their way through the playoffs. They'll have a pretty easy route through. And I just think, seriously, Bill Belichick can just about get anything done. If the cards fall right and if things get lucky and if any given Sunday a team can win, Bailey Zappi has done a nice job filling in for Mac Jones so far. I felt bad when Jones got hurt because I thought this was his time to shine kind of a thing. Yeah, that's all I got. No, they're going to have to win in a shotgun as soon as Dana unmutes herself. She will tell you that they're going to need to be an offensive juggernaut. It is not their defense that is going to lead them to the promised land.
You never know. Hey, listen, it doesn't have to make sense. It just has to be an answer. Okay. Exactly. Ready? This is Sonia's.
Big money.
Son of a mother. Why does she get these teams? It's not fair. Packers.
Not fair.
I hate you.
Then again, her home team didn't put up any points this week, so we'll give her a gift.
Exactly. My home team didn't put up points against that Patriots defense, okay? So there.
There you go.
Oh, goodness. Because of Mr. Discount Double Check or Discount Double Choke, as some people like to call him.
Ew.
Aaron Rodgers. That's why. That's the only reason why, because he's going to get really into his FU mode, especially losing to the Giants overseas, and just scorch the earth. And yeah, that's how they're gonna get to the
That's
Super
an
Bowl.
easy one. Every week she ends up with like the Bills, the Packers. Oh my God.
Have you seen the latest meme though?
No, what's that?
It's a picture of Aaron Rodgers from the back, and he's got his hair tucked behind his ears, so it's like sticking out like this on the sides and the back next to those penguins that have the weird eyebrow things that flick out, and they're like, is it a penguin or is it the back of Aaron Rodgers' head?
Oh my gosh. We're not here to slam. All right. Well, we're kind of here to slam Aaron Rodgers. Okay. Here's mine.
Dana, your turn.
Who you got?
Why? Why does this always happen to me? I have the Steelers. I'm going to tell you right now, the Steelers aren't going to the Super Bowl, people. There isn't even any way to spin this one. Just absolutely impossible. Oh, my God. Well, let me tell you, Mr. Kenny Pickett is going to show up, and he's going to start playing actual football. Right? Actual football. And then Najee Harris is going to quit getting me 2 points in fantasy football. And all of a sudden I'm going to get 15 points out of Najee Harris. And then maybe they'll start winning some games. And then the rest of the division is going to fall apart. The Ravens are going to forget how to, run the ball. And the Cincinnati will implode. And the Browns we'll get Watson
Will
back and he'll
Browns.
fall apart. Yeah. So
The
then
Browns
they're
will
going to come the
Browns.
Steelers, and then they're going to roll up and they're going to run smack into the Bills and the Chiefs, and they're going to not go. But yes, Camden, thank you. Oh my God, you're an angel. Camden says TJ Watt's going to come back and save the defense.
Yep.
Sure. That's what's
He's
going to
trolling
happen.
again.
I'm telling you, that's not going to happen. I'm telling you, the Steelers are not going to win the Super Bowl, but that is not my job. From the Hat says, why are they? And because you know why? Because Mike Tomlin is one of my favorite coaches in the league.
He's on the hot seat, though.
He can come be a hot seat
right
right in Seattle. Come on
who may
over.
be getting fired by the end of the season.
That's okay. He can
People
come
are
right to
not
Seattle.
happy with him.
He can come and be some sort of coordinator in Seattle,
yeah.
and nothing will make me happier. Oh, love Mike Tomlin. Okay. We still have quite a few teams to go still. So every week, people, you're getting teams from the Hat.
You know what you should do is save them for when Lisa's back and make Lisa do one every week to catch up with us.
I know. It's kind of true. Big Red says the steel curtain and it's going to rise up. The curtain rises again, Big Red. Absolutely. I love it.
Someone did not watch the beatdown they took this week.
Oh my God, it was so bad. They don't have
even for me, it was painful. And I don't even like them.
I know.
And I felt bad for little Kenny Pickett. Like, oh, little Kenny Pickett.
So interestingly enough for me, another little comment here about games this weekend. I thought it was interesting, and in the Chiefs Raider game, what happened was the Raiders laid out a blueprint for the game of the season, which is next week. The Bills go to Kansas City, right? That game was going to be crazy. And the Raiders laid out a blueprint. Josh Jacobs run 154 yards all by himself, right up the gut of Kansas City, and frustrated the hell out of them. And if they double team, why am I blanking on Mike? He's my fantasy football. Travis Kelce. Thank you. I kept thinking Jason Kelce, which is my favorite Kelce. And they double team him. They have no one else. You know, some of the other players played okay. I think Valdez-Scantling played okay. But I think that's going to be the game of the week. I cannot wait to watch this game. I wanted to go here in Kansas City, right? But it's hard to find a ticket under $500 to that game. It's going to be just a blast. So much fun to watch. All right, Sonia, who do your Lions play this week and how are they going to bounce back?
The Lions actually have a bye week this week.
All right. See, so you already won.
I guarantee they don't lose this week.
They're not
right. Isn't that how it goes?
Right. They're not going to lose, but they sure might go for it on fourth down somewhere. Yeah. We set a record for failed fourth down.
We love you, Lions.
Going for it on fourth down.
We love you, Lions. Everyone's
it's
still
going to be all right.
Team. It's going to be all
right. They do. But
Kate.
after the bye.
Go ahead.
Sorry, good.
No, you go ahead. After the bye, what?
I was about to say, after the bye, they get the Cowboys. They're going to run right into the Cowboys in Jerry's world. Michelle, hats off to you.
I'm telling you, the Cowboys are impressing the hell out of me this year, and that's hard for me to say out loud. Kate, what do your Browns do this week?
So my 2-3 Browns are hosting the 2-3 Patriots. It's I think they're favored by 3 points, and since they're at home, that means even Vegas doesn't know who's going to win this game. It's a push, and they give the home team 3. I don't know if you know we've had the lead in every game this year with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and still managed to lose 3 of those. So I don't know what to tell you. We don't run our ball. We don't run the ball enough. We don't. Our play calling is suspicious, which is why. Kevin Stefanski is getting a lot of heat right now. Joe Woods, our defensive coordinator, is getting a lot of heat right now. The defense is still not talking to them, each other when they're out there. But at the end of the day, the Cleveland Guardians are in New York tonight playing the Yankees in the Major League Baseball playoffs. And so depending on how this week goes with them, a lot of Browns fans may not be paying attention on Sunday because we may be watching, baseball because they play tonight. And Tuesday and Thursday in New York, and then they're in Cleveland for the weekend. So we'll see. We'll see.
That's happening with Seattle right now too, because they are actually
between the Guardians being good and in the playoffs and the Cavaliers season getting started. There's enough other stuff to just. The Browns are like, oh, look at how good these other teams are doing. Don't pay attention to us and yell at us. And it's enough to get like the sports radio people other things to talk about. So they enjoy the month of October here, especially when there's October baseball.
That's awesome.
The Browns benefit from that. I think more than any other team in the league, because we do have 2 other sports that can take your mind off of football.
Yeah. That's happening in Seattle too. In fact, they mentioned today that they are looking into changing the Seahawks game. They are hosting the Arizona Cardinals because it conflicts with the Mariners game. And so they might move that up to a 10 a.m. start in Seattle. So we'll see if that happens because the Mariners are in, although a lot of Mariners fans aren't happy because they just lost to the Astros. And I would be mad too because the Astros, yuck. But it's okay. They will be just fine. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. All right, everyone. Kate, I forgot to do it at the beginning. If you guys are watching over on Twitter, you guys should really come over to YouTube. I always forget to say that at the beginning and join our chat. We will go ahead and post questions, much like here, Camden's. Should I bench Mahomes against in favor of Geno? Yes, against the Bills, absolutely you should. But and then don't kill me if that doesn't work out.
Oh,
but
and remind fantasy owners, and maybe we should tweet something, the bye weeks have started. So if you have not checked your lineups yet, you got today to get your waiver claims in before they process. Typically they process on Wednesdays. I know a lot of people like me draft 1 kicker and 1 defense. And so when they're on a bye, you got to go and get somebody. So
start watching your bye weeks.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. We will be back here again next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central Time. And we will talk about whatever the latest news is around the league. If you have any specific questions for us, you can always shoot it to us on Twitter. Or you can join us here on YouTube and put it in our chat, and we'll put it right up here in the live show. Also, a reminder that you can find this podcast not just on YouTube and on Twitter, but we are on all the streaming services, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all of them. All you got to do is search the OTFB podcast and you'll be able to find us. Please subscribe. And then you'll know every time we have a new show up. All right, ladies, we will be back. Thank you so much for joining me and for joining us here on the show this week. And we will see you guys again next Tuesday. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.